So as it turns out, the student loans that I've been paying $1,500 a month for 2 years have a 17% interest rate. So what I thought I've been paying off for all this time, I'm actually, I owe more than what I...
Wait. Where are y'all getting 17% interest rates from? What kind of student loans are these? And why was y'all not reading the fine print when you decided to sign up? Like, in addition to that, you didn't have no parents or nothing. Like, I have a 17-year-old daughter, and I'm going to get to the video in a second. I got a 17-year-old daughter, and no way in the world that I would ever let her, A, take out a student loan, B, I would rather her go to community college, C, you not grown, so you don't even get to determine where you go to college at, and D, I'm not going to ever let you sign up for something that you got to pay a 17% interest rate on. I wouldn't let you do that for a credit card. Let me start over. Give me a second.
Student loans that I've been paying $1,500 a month for 2 years have a 17% interest rate. So what I thought I've been paying off for all this time, I'm actually, I owe more than what I started off with. So Jeff Bezos, this would be a really cool time to Venmo me, bro. I owe $90,000 and I didn't even spend that much on school. Any rich person, please tap in. Courtney.
I'm assuming that she probably spent maybe $85,000 on school, $83,000 on school, maybe a little bit more.
Kardashian, you probably have 8 houses. I'm never gonna be able to buy one because I went to college. I just signed up to be an egg donor. Guess what? Got approved. Who wants my kids? I can't afford them, so start a bidding more. Just take them. What do you want? My left arm too? What the f am I supposed to do? I'm gonna be in debt for my whole life. How does that even make sense? I signed up for this when I was 17. This should not be legal, bro. I got upset about it at work, and my coworker was like, don't you have a rich relative who can pay that for you? No, my family's poor. No. And the worst part is, bro, look where I am. I can't go in because I can't spend money, but I just want to be here.
This is stupid for a lot of these people. Y'all gonna have to get a second job. That's just the way that it is. You're gonna have to get a second job, and you're gonna have to stop spending, and you're not gonna be able to live the life that you want to live for the next 5 to 6 years. And you're gonna have to hustle. You're gonna have to grind, put down your privilege, and hustle. And nobody owes you nothing.
Hey, what's up, America? The United States may be going into a full credit crisis. And that's because people can't pay their credit cards or loans or car payments whatsoever anymore. You see, the cost of living here in the United States is so great that a great deal of people are falling behind on paying car payments and credit card bills. Now, a lot of people over the last couple of years actually took out credit cards simply so they could afford groceries, knowing they couldn't pay them. Same with the car loans. They knew that they needed a car, but they simply couldn't afford it, but they did it fucking anyway. Now, what would cause a large percentage of the population to do something like that? Take on debt knowing they could not afford it. Well, that comes from a mix of desperation and necessity, you see? Desperation because you have to eat and take care of your family, can't be living on the streets, and necessity. Somehow you have to eat, so if you have to fucking game the system, then you're gonna do it. And that's plunged America into a full-fledged credit crisis because, simply speaking, very few people can pay their bills on time. About 70% of Americans are either struggling to pay their bills or are just not paying some of them to pay others. And credit cards are not being paid so that people can pay utility bills and rent and buy groceries. Still, this was supposed to be the golden age of America, where people actually had more money and it had an easier time buying shit. But so far, most of us have gotten nothing but a giant turd. Yes, that's right, a giant financial fucking turd.
If you can't pay for it in cash, means you can't afford it. The best advice I got, put that credit card away, rip it up, throw it away.
Why not?
Because you're going to be broke by the time you're 40, paying all those interest rates and keep paying the minimum, and you'll never get there. And I have a 22-year-old daughter. I feel bad for her because it's tough for them to make it. Prices are way too high, incomes are not enough. It's tough to save these days.
One of President Trump's recent proposals that would directly affect you, he's doing it to improve affordability, is to impose a 10% cap on credit card rates. Is that a bad idea?
It would be an economic disaster. And I'm not making up because our business, we would survive it, by the way. If you, in the worst case, you have to have a drastic reduction of the credit card business. I mean drastic. I mean like 10%. I mean like 80%. It would remove credit from 80% of Americans, and that is their backup credit. And the people crying the most won't be the credit card companies. They'll be the restaurants, the retailers, the travel companies, the schools, the municipalities.
Credit cards. The average interest rate in the United States right now is 23%. 23%. And by the way, that goes up to 36%, probably higher. Probably higher than 36%, but officially 36% is the highest rate any mainstream credit card will charge you. You could go get a personal bank loan for 11%. So you could borrow money at less than half the rate than you're getting from your credit card company. So why would anybody use a credit card and roll over the interest? 40% of American adults cannot repay their credit card balance. That's 111 million people. And they are paying, on average, 23% interest.
Look, I think the president is right. The Americans are being ripped off. I mean, $160 billion in interest charges last year, 31 billion in fees. That is not a financial services industry. It's an extraction machine. So, and we've seen in Europe that putting interchange regulation and interest rate caps in place work really well. If you look at Klarna's business model, those rates are very uncommon. And the majority of our business is built around the buy now, pay later model, which actually charges only merchant fees and offers interest-free credit for consumers. And that is in huge demand in the US. Germany has among the lowest cap. France has caps. So the German cap, if I remember correctly, is around 14, 15%. In France, it's close to 18, 19. So those are caps that are quite effective. There's also other things that people do. It's real-time pooling of loan to kind of look at your total exposure to all banks. So there's a number of, I would argue, pretty effective ways to help people avoid the most negative type of borrowing.
Donald Trump's problem with credit card companies is that they make too much money off the backs of hardworking Americans.
They charge Americans interest rates of 28%, 30%, 31%, 32%.
So he has an idea. Americans are getting ripped off by credit card companies, so his new rule, effective January 20th, 2026, I, as President of the United States, am calling for a 1-year cap on credit card interest rates of 10%.
Because, some of them are 28, almost 30%. And that people don't know they're paying 30%.
Now, should be a popular idea, right? Big banks ripping us off. Let's cut those extortionate rates. But you may have noticed, Trump's deadline of January 20th has come and gone, and no bank really did anything. Even those people who supported a range of Trump's policies don't seem to think this one is all that great.
Impose a 10% cap on credit card rates. Is that a bad idea?
It would be an economic disaster.
I wouldn't get too spun up about, ideas that are out of the box, that are proposed or suggested. The thing about this president is he's totally transparent, and he says often what he's thinking out loud.
So what's the truth here? Does capping credit card interest at 10% really lead to economic disaster? Is the president just thinking out loud?
Are we really struggling in this economy, or is everything a facade? So from my last video, many of you guys have said that people are just putting everything on their credit cards, and that's why people are spending left and right. That's why we see every place we go to packed to the brim. And I agree with that. However, I want to add to this equation of the fact that people don't care about having a savings account anymore. what we were taught and how we were raised, what your parents did, what your grandparents did with savings account is out the window. That extra $50 left on your paycheck, you're not going to put it in a savings account. 95% of you is going to blow it somewhere at TJ Maxx, buy a video game or buy makeup or whatever, because there's no point in having a savings account anymore. We are coming freshly out of the pandemic where we lost everything. We lost money, savings, people, businesses, and our sanity. Coming out of the pandemic, most people are angry, they're emotional, and yes, swiping that credit card creates this dopamine rush. Also, a lot of you were saying that the migrants that are coming in are being funded to have this lifestyle by having EBT cards and excessive amounts of money. I agree with you guys, totally. I totally think that could also factor in here, but let me just mention that casinos, airports, sports stadiums, Taylor Swift concerts, I mean, these are not migrants attending these venues. Let's just be real here. And lastly, for all the weirdos, no, this is not a political post. I had no political agenda behind this. No one is paying me to make this video. I'm just observing what I'm seeing and I'm talking about it just like what everybody else does on TikTok. And if you're wondering who I'm voting for, I mean, it's pretty obvious. So stop making political points and comments. There's no political agenda behind this video.
So women on the left are now claiming that women's bank accounts are being shut down.
They're closing women's bank accounts. I repeat, they are closing women's bank accounts in the US right now. So last month, my credit card got its credit limit lowered with no explanation, and they gave like a dozen reasons. So they didn't tell me specifically what the reason was. I don't know if they are going down the hole of The Handmaid's Tale and literally watching and copying the TV show and canceling all of the women's bank accounts and trying to lower our credit limits and all this other stuff. But what I do know is that it is suspicious as hell, because in all of these videos and all of these comment sections, it is just women.
Hate to burst the bubble, but a credit card and a bank account are not the same thing. A credit limit is borrowed money, a bank account is your money. If banks were closing women's bank accounts en masse, that would be illegal. And wouldn't it be instantly headline news, not TikTok whispers? Second, banks lower credit card limits all the time. They do it to reduce risk, they do it automatically, and they do it to men. I know, it's crazy. 3, the reason you're probably seeing most women talk about this online? Yeah, that's not evidence, that's algorithm bias. TikTok shows you people who look like you, think like you, and panic like you. It's not a federal plot, it's an engagement strategy. 4th, if banks were actually shutting down women financially, you would see lawsuits, class actions, bipartisan outrage, and regulators involved. Not just comments saying, OMG, same here! And lastly, let's be honest. Banks don't care if you're a woman. They care if you're a risk model.
I mean, just to ask you to respond to what he said. He said Americans are spending more on credit cards, that they are not only paying more, they are paying more for things that they are buying, but they're doing so on credit cards. That's what he's saying. That's the
amount that Americans are carrying on their credit card has increased. It's gone up to almost $7,000 per person. A lot of Americans are making minimum payments. The average interest rate is between 21 and 22% on whatever balance they are carrying. And then you've got the chief economic advisor to Donald Trump out there with a shit-eating grin telling us how great it is that American debt is increasing, that the average American's debt is increasing. I just think it speaks again to this constant theme I see from this administration, which is tone deafness, right? Oh, it's just a little short-term pain. Oh, buy your daughter less dolls. Oh, it's, you know, it's worth the little pain they're feeling. Oh, it's great that they've got more credit card debt. I mean, I would say that if I'm a person who can't pay my gas, whose dollar is going a lot less far in the grocery store, who is stuck in Fort Lauderdale Airport without being able to get back home because Spirit Airlines no longer exists, I hear this guy and I'm not happy about it.
I think.
All right, credit card debt in the U.S. is hit a record 18.4 trillion. That's credit card balances, ladies and gentlemen. What that means is that is $70,000 per adult. It's because families are facing mounting financial pressures. Groceries are up 29%. Inflation has gone up again at 2.8%. Electricity went up 13% average in 2025, and electricity is supposed to go up another 9% in 2026. We now pay an extra tax called a tariff of anywhere from 10 to 147%. 1.2 million Americans lost their job last year in 2025, and more are going to lose their job in 2026. Hi, my name's Christina. I have a master's degree in business. Already in 2026, 58 to 60% of companies are expecting to do layoffs. 1 out of 4 people unemployed, 25%, have been unemployed for 27 weeks or longer. This is why people are using credit. They are absolutely stretched thin. This is a sign that people are struggling. The top 10 states with credit card delinquencies, 9 out of 10 are in red states. The top people struggling are the top 2, Florida and Texas. Yes, red state. Buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. 2026 is going to be even worse. Drop a comment and follow for more.
President Trump and Bernie Sanders want to cap your credit card interest at 10%. But is it legal? Let me explain. President Trump has renewed a campaign promise to cap credit card interest rates at 10% for a year starting on January 20th. He argues that today's interest rates are unfair, saying that banks are stealing from Americans and trapping people in perpetual debt. According to Trump, a temporary cap would give working families breathing room and make debt easier to manage. But from a legal standpoint, the president can't impose a nationwide interest rate cap through an executive order. A federal law would need to be passed by Congress, granting regulators the authority to set and enforce the cap. Without the legislation, the executive order is essentially unenforceable. Interestingly enough, Congress has already seen bipartisan attempts to do exactly this, and they failed. Senators Bernie Sanders, a Democrat, and Josh Hawley, a Republican, introduced a bill to cap credit card interest at 10%. In the House of Representatives, AOC and Anna Paulina Luna introduced companion legislation. None of these bills made it out of committee. But why? It's because banking and credit groups strongly oppose rate caps. They say that if credit card rates are capped at 10%, the industry would just make credit cards harder to get, cutting out higher risk borrowers and focusing on people with strong credit, which would force people with low credit scores and low incomes to depend on payday loans and expensive alternative financing. Should the government cap credit card interest rates, or should the market decide? Would a 10% interest cap help working families or hurt people with bad credit? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And a special thanks to Dr. Marilia Lalourgas at I See Clear Vision for the topic idea. If you like quick legal analysis, follow me. If you're hurt and it's someone else's fault, call, text, or message me. I'm Pete Sardis, your personal injury lawyer.
U.S. credit card culture is crazy, so here's a 101 breakdown of the American credit card rigmarole. First of all, you need to have a credit card in order to get a credit score. You cannot build a credit score without a credit card. You need a credit card in the United States to do important things, like financing a mortgage to buy a house or financing a loan to purchase a car, i.e. 2 of the ingredients in the classic American dream. The better your credit score is typically translates to lower interest rates and better payment terms for these big loans. But even if you're not looking to buy a big ticket item, your credit score still might be checked for things like renting an apartment. Your landlord will essentially want to know if you're going to be a financially responsible tenant. And your credit score will be used as an indicator of how likely you are to pay your rent at all and on time. Basic credit card scores range from 300 to 850, and good scores are generally considered anything above 700. By the way, when you get married in the United States, your individual credit scores will stay separate, but if you want to open a joint account or buy a house together, both of your credit scores will be looked at. So people joke, but not really joke, that when they're getting into long-term relationships, one of the early questions they ask people is, what is your credit score? Like, it is that important for long-term financial success in the United States. Okay, honestly, it kind of just gets crazier from here. Your credit card score is based on a lot of different factors, including how many cards you have, how long you've had them, how frequently you pay them back on time, etc. You can request your credit report, which will have your credit score on it for free once a year from 3 different big credit bureaus. If
you're an American, you might recognize these names. They're Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. So here's a quick reminder on how credit cards work in the first place, and essentially how they are trying to entice consumers to spend money that they don't have. You get a credit card, you spend money on it, and let's say you spend $100 in a month. At the end of that month, we'll say month 0, you will get an account statement that says your balance due is $100. And that amount is due 1 month from now. So we'll say month 1. This means that you don't need to have $100 in your bank account when you made the purchase or when you get your account statement, but you do need to have $100 in your account 1 month later to pay back your credit card company. If you know that you have $200 in your bank account in month 0 and then you spend $100 on your credit card in month 0, you know that you can pay that balance down in full in month 1. And if you only spend what you have on credit cards, you are golden. Non-Americans, if you're wondering why people would spend money on a credit card when they have that money in their bank account, we're getting there. But first, if you are not able to pay that $100 back in month 1, then you start accumulating interest on that $100. This is where credit card companies make money. They rely on people using credit cards for money that they don't have. They are hoping that you will not be able to pay that back in month 1 so that they can charge you super high interest rates. And it is just so wild to me how necessary a credit score is here and how aggressively credit cards are pushed onto consumers. Like, I'm back in the US right now, and I was last here several months ago, and I always come home to a pile of mail that is mostly credit card solicitations. This time, I think I came home to 10 solicitations, 2 from credit card companies, 2 from airline companies that also have their own credit cards, multiple requests from some of these companies, all trying to get me to sign up for their credit card. It's crazy, and I can't turn them off or make them stop or go paperless because I'm not signed up for this. They get your address and they will send you physical snail mail solicitations for life. Another aspect of the US credit card culture is that these companies will try to get you to sign up for multiple cards. They don't care if you already have 1 card or 3 cards. They want you to have their card as well. And this is because companies, including airlines, including clothing brands, including Amazon, they will give you perks for using their card. These could be miles on their airline, cashback, or points that you could spend on different types of rewards like gift cards or hotels. They are all trying to entice you to sign up for their credit card so that they can be the one to profit off of you when you have credit card debt. Okay, we're getting to the end of this, I promise. What is so interesting to me about this is that since I moved to France 8.5 years ago, I can really see and feel the difference between the US culture, which entices consumers to go into debt, and the European culture, which doesn't. In the US, I have had the extreme privilege to be financially educated on how to responsibly use credit cards, and I do have 3 credit cards that I use for different types of purchases. In Europe, or at least in France, credit cards don't really exist, at least not in the same capacity as they do in the US. In France, I have 1 debit card that's connected to 1 checking account, and that's it. I am never encouraged or tempted to spend beyond my means because I literally can't. I just have my debit card. It is a huge mental shift to exist in a country that so aggressively pushes debt and even essentially requires that people open them up to the risk of debt to achieve this magical credit score that lets them do these other things. And in Europe, that mentality is just not there. From my experience, you are not trained, you are not educated, you are not pushed to spend beyond your means. Debt is not this glorified nor essential thing that everybody needs to have. I think it's also quite normal for people to not really realize how strange a situation might be until they're removed and put into a different situation. And for me, a big part of that was moving abroad and leaving the US and being like, wow, that is really crazy how it works over there, because it doesn't have to work like that. It doesn't work like that in France. It's definitely a very significant cultural difference. All of this is based on my personal experience. I am not a financial advisor, but I hope this helps people outside of the US understand a little bit more about the absolute circus that is the US credit card culture. Because if you don't grow up here where this is completely normalized, it must just sound really, really weird from an outside perspective.